Hello, welcome to ShropshireStart.com. My name's Jonny Drury. I'm alongside Salop correspondent Ollie Westbury for a Shrewsbury Town update. Now, Salop fans have been waiting for news of sort of goings on behind the scenes, really. The story came out a couple of weeks ago that Salop were going to be putting together a football board. And then there was quickly the news that they had approached Cheltenham Town Director of Football, Micky Moore. Now, Ollie, it looks as if Moore is set to take over a new role at the Montgomery Waters Meadow as Director of Football. What's the latest, and what do we know about Micky Moore? I understand you've been sort of looking into him and know a bit more about what he could bring to Salop.
Yeah, I think obviously the latest is as per reported on the Shropshire Star website. First came from John Palmer from Cheltenham reporter. It seems as though all the information is getting out at that end. So what we know is that Micky Moore has accepted the position at the club, and we're just I'm assured that it's all above board and likely to go ahead. And yes, they're just kind of awaiting final details and things like that and an announcement. So that's all good stuff. It brings to the end a real kind of limbo period at Shrewsbury, which has not been ideal in the slightest for anyone. I don't think it's been ideal for fans, for players, for Steve Cotterill, the manager, for the management board or whatever. So it's been a real period of limbo for the club. But now it feels as though there's some slow progress. Initially, I think Micky Moore was to make his decision early this week. It's kind of gone back to, he's given himself some extra time, and kind of it's now where it is now, but we kind of finally have some progress, and he's kind of straight into it straight away, isn't he? They've got till Saturday to make decisions on players, so they've got to get working fast, haven't they?
In terms of Moore, what do we sort of know about him? What will he sort of bring to the club? I think he's had nearly 5 years at Cheltenham. Must come with quite a good reputation. Seems as Salop have sort of gone out there and headhunted him almost.
Yeah, I've just spoken to John Palmer. I've been speaking to him quite a lot over the last few days, but I've just got off the phone actually talking about him and the job that he's done rather than the situation of what's ongoing. So he was incredibly complimentary of Micky Moore, and it seems as though from my conversations with John that Town have really found themselves a bit of a scoop here in terms of the job that he did whilst he was at Cheltenham. There'll be some stories to come over the few days of some of the things that kind of John explained about what he's done and why he's been kind of so impressed with him. So I would say from that respect, it's kind of like fairly exciting times to be a Shrewsbury fan, because he does seem as though he's done one hell of a job at Cheltenham Town. So we now have just got to kind of watch and see how it goes, and fingers crossed they can, it'll be something similar at Shrewsbury.
You mentioned those players in your previous answer, Ollie. I know there's a story in today's Shropshire Star and on ShropshireStar.com of the players who are out of contract, and the players are out of contract with the club having an option to extend their deals. The deadline for those sort of deals, released and retained list as fans know them, is Saturday. So I suppose this decision might give the players who are in limbo a little bit more clarity. They'll sort of know that they can be expecting a decision now in the coming days, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't be nice. They've got mortgages, they've got futures that they wish to plan for. So it would be good if they kind of had some kind of knowledge of what the future holds for them, whether they need to kind of get their agents finding them new clubs or all that kind of stuff. You've got a bit of security if you're inside a deal, but if you're at the end of your deal and you're not sure what the future holds for you, then it can be challenging. So I think this kind of is the first step in the right direction to providing some clarity for those players and to help so they can plan kind of their futures as well, and also for the club, so they can kind of begin starting to put the building blocks in place for the next campaign, because they're already 2 weeks behind everybody else. Retain lists and plans I'm sure have been put in place by other clubs up and down, League One clubs up and down the country, whereas Shrewsbury have kind of been dealing with this for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. And fingers crossed now they can kind of get on with making some good plans to try and build on what was a really successful season last year.
And finally, what does this is this sort of bear any relevance on Steve Cotterill? I know you mentioned in your piece to that this afternoon when the ShropshireStar.com reported that news that had come out that Micky Moore is set to take the job, that Steve Cotterill didn't have any knowledge of this football board or director of football being approached. What's the current situation on that, Ollie? Is it sort of as was you've been reporting in the last few days? Is there any developments?
Not particularly. No developments. No one really knows what's going on with the Steve Cotterill situation. You cannot argue with his record and what he's done at the club. First season kind of kept him up, then built solid foundations, and then has really kicked him on this season. I don't know. It's tough to know what's really happening. With the manager, the uncertainty seems to be deafening, really, and the silence seems to be deafening too. So we'll just have to watch this space, keep a close eye on it over the next few days, and see if there's some developments now that this manager is now on board. Sorry, not manager. This director of football is now on board at Shrewsbury Town.